Greetings, ladies and gentlemen from Nagasaki, Japan. Today I have a very important guest and a very important message to deliver before I introduce our guest. In life, it is always the case that the most important thing in life is the people you are around. So if you have a terrible job that you hate, if you have a job that's dirty, dangerous, or in other words, undesirable, but you do that with the best people on earth, that's a good job. But sometimes you get lucky and you get to do something that you enjoy. You get to be a competitive pie eater with the best people on earth. Then that's doubly the best job. I'm one of those people who's so lucky where a few years ago, I got to have a life experience where I was studying Korean in Kyongsong University in Busan. And while living in the dorms, I was assigned roommate Pierre. And Pierre is a very intelligent, very articulate, very warm and generous young man from Bari, Italy. It was a very good time in my life, and I want to share that time by sharing Pierre. And Pierre is a graduate student currently at Busan National University in Busan, South Korea. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce a very good friend of mine, Pierre. Pierre, would you like to tell us about yourself?
Yes, sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Pier from the south of Italy. First of all, I would like to thank you, James, for inviting me here. It's an honor. And also I want to thank James for all the warm words he said about me. And also I want to say that I think the same about him.
Thank you.
I always been interested in foreign languages. This is why I decided to start my bachelor degree in foreign languages. And during the second year, I discovered the Korean culture through cinema, through film. And since then, I fell in love with this country and the culture and all the rest. This is why I decided to do a master's degree in cinema studies, in film studies. And I wrote then my thesis about South Korean cinema. After that, my dream was to be able to speak Korean and watch Korean movies without subtitles. This is why I came to Busan in Kyongsong University, where I met James. And after that, I applied for the Korean government scholarship. The first time I failed, the second one I succeeded. And now I am a doctoral student in Busan National University, and I am studying film studies, especially focusing on Asian movies and South Korean cinema.
Very good. Thank you very much for that introduction, Pierre. Can you tell us a little bit about Bari? I'm sure people watching this would love to know more about where you're from. So please share with us a little bit about Bari, if you would.
Sure. Bari is quite an important city of the south of Italy. It's the biggest city after Naples and Palermo in the south. And it is located on the Adriatic coast in a region called the Puglia. So Bari is the capital of Puglia. It has a kind of big port, kind of useful and big airport for the standards of the south of Italy. It's the biggest city on the Adriatic Sea in Italy. And it's famous for some kind of food like focaccia, type of pasta called orecchiette, which means small ears because it's the shape of like an ear, and for raw seafood. Bari is an interesting city, very picturesque, because it's divided in the older part, which is kind of old, more than 1,000 years old, in which you can find very narrow streets and beautiful and big old cathedrals and the basilicas. You can find a very nice seafront, very long. And then you can see also a very nice part of Bari made in the 19th century, which has a very elegant palaces. If you have a trip in Bari, you can not only taste delicious food of Bari and see Bari, but if you use it like a place where you have your hotel and then you can trip around and see all the small cities nearby. It can be very, very good, especially nowadays that Puglia is becoming a little bit more famous abroad, especially also among very famous actors and singers. Last year we had Madonna, and it was already the second time she came there. The famous American singer Justin Timberlake, he married in Puglia. He had a wedding party in Puglia. I can go on for a lot, but it has been famous for a while. And recently we had, there was in Puglia, a fashion event organized by Gucci under a very famous and interesting castle. And even a very famous South Korean actress went there. So it can be nice for your trip.
Excellent. I would love to know more about Italy also. I've never had the privilege yet of visiting Italy, and I would love to know more about what you consider to me. What do you consider to mean to be Italian? What are some things that you consider very, I don't know, near and dear to your heart about Italy?
So Italy is a really amazing country where you can travel because it's full of cultural heritage, beautiful landscapes, and amazing food. Sometimes I also think that actually there are too many cultural heritage or monuments that it's impossible to look at them all. And I also think there's no point in just looking at them without knowing what you're looking. So if you go to a place like Rome, in which you can find a cathedral or a beautiful church or something with the Roman Empire, almost like every 10 steps, I suggest you know what you're looking at. So it would be nice if you get some information, because you could really know much more about that. Even if you go like in St. Peter's Cathedral, there are so many stages, so many things that just looking at them, it doesn't give you, how can I say, a complete feeling. It's just better to know what you're looking at. And yes, so this is the good part of Italy. The bad part of Italy is related with the organization, poor transportation. Everything related with the organization and stuff like that is really bad. And there is no planning at all. Everything is made with not too much, how can I say, attention. Because I think that nowadays the average mind of an Italian person is, anyway, we have so many cultural heritage, anyway, the tourists will come. So we don't need to effort a lot. Because of this, I think many problems started, and now it's difficult to fix them. So it's really a weird situation. But for traveling, I think, yeah, it's really good.
Excellent. And if I'm not mistaken, you live in Busan right now in South Korea. Can you tell me a little bit about Busan?
Busan is a really nice city that welcomed me since I came to Korea at first. It's the second biggest city of Korea. It's on the sea. And this is what I like on Busan. Maybe it's not as big as Seoul. Maybe it doesn't have as many entertainment as Seoul, but it's a very big city on the sea. And it's very difficult to find something like this, not only in Korea, but also in other countries. So Busan gives you the chance to stay in touch with the nature, which can be mountains or the sea, and also being in a very dynamic and big city. So I really like this about Busan. And also the weather, comparing with other parts of Korea, is much better. The temperature is better. Usually there is less pollution. The transportation is good. There are also many historical things to see. And now I've been living here a while, and I'm getting interested in all the Busan culture, Busan food, and Busan history. So it's a really nice place to live, I think.
Thank you, Pierre. Can you do me another favor. Um, a lot of people have not visited Korea. A lot of people have not visited Italy. And your insight being from Italy and living in Korea would be invaluable. Can you compare and contrast life or anything else from Italy to Korea?
Sure. So, as I said before, Italy is not a well-organized country, but Korea is. So everything you need to do, can it be something related with bureaucracy or transportation or stuff like that? In Korea, you can do it pretty fast. In Italy, it's the opposite. It's really slow. So living in Korea can be comfortable with this. And as I said, the transportation is so good that you can go everywhere without problems. But in Italy, apart maybe some cities in the north, like Milan or stuff like that, transportation is not good, so you always need a car to move around. The food for me is good in both countries. I like Korean food. I can eat it every day. And also I like Italian food. So I adapted to it really well. Of course, there are some cultural differences related maybe with the relationship with older people or of university, but it's not nothing too difficult. You just have to be open-minded. And this is, I think, the good thing of living abroad, because you can open your mind and see how another culture is different, and to accept this other culture can make you grow inside a lot. So you just need some adaptation will, and everything is going to be fine.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much for that, Pierre. Ladies and gentlemen, Pierre was so kind as to offer to give us a little bit of instruction on speaking Italian today. So it's interesting he mentioned the food, because today's lesson is about going to restaurants and placing an order for food. And Pierre, if you're ready, I'd love to learn how to order food in Italy.
Sure.
I'm doing the share screen now.
Okay. So before talking about food, I will just give a very brief, let's say, lesson to how to greet people. So if you want to greet someone in a very informal way, you can just say ciao, and you can use it to when you meet someone, also for when you say goodbye to someone. If you want to be more formal, you can say buongiorno in the morning, buon pomeriggio in the afternoon, or buonasera in the evening. But if it's too complicated to remind all, you can just use this more comfortable word called salve, and you can use this word in every part of the day.
So a couple of questions for this. With regards to ciao, so that can be used as a greeting and as a farewell. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. And when you use it for farewell, maybe the tone is a little bit longer, but not necessarily. It depends on the people. It can just be a short ciao, or ciao just a bit longer, but doesn't have any difference. Yes.
Okay, perfect. And let me just put a box here. Make this greetings. Okay, great. Let me give a little try here. Ciao.
Mm-hmm.
Buongiorno.
Mm-hmm.
Buon pomeriggio.
Yes.
Buonasera.
Mm-hmm.
Salve.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Let's keep going.
So probably when you enter in a restaurant, someone will say some of these words to you. So when we go into the restaurant, the first thing we can do, if we cannot see the menu, is to ask to see the menu. So you could say something like this: Posso vedere il menu? Which means, could I take a look at the menu? So they will just bring it to you, and you can choose whatever dish you want.
Okay, so let me try that one. Posso vedere il menu?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, let's keep going.
Okay. Then when you choose what to order, you can call the waiter. So if you want to call the waiter, you can say something like this: Mi scusi, posso ordinare? Which means, excuse me, can I order?
Mi scusi, posso ordinare?
Yes, perfect. So they will just say yes, or they will ask you to wait a moment. Yeah. And then after you add everything and you want to ask for the bill, you can use this, you can use the following phrase. Il conto, per favore.
Il
Il
conto,
conto means, yeah, go ahead.
il conto per favore.
Sure, yes. Il conto means the bill, and per favore means please.
Let's see. Wonderful.
And finally, another important thing is to ask them if you can pay by card. So you could say, posso pagare con la carta, which means, can I pay by card? So actually, nowadays, since a new law came out, all the shops and restaurants and all the shops, they have to accept a credit card by law. So they cannot refuse. But you know, this is it. It's Italy. So sometimes they do what they want. Not sometimes, many times they do what they want. So they could say no, especially if you have to buy some very cheap things like water. So if you just use 1 or 2 euros, someone could refuse to let you pay with card because of the bank commission. But it's illegal. They should accept that now. It's the law.
Excellent. Let's clear this page and then let's discuss some things that you might order if you're in Italy.
Okay. So if you travel in my hometown in Bari, one of the typical dishes that you could try is focaccia. And focaccia is a type of food which comes from the Roman Empire. They used to make this food since the Roman Empire. It's a kind of dough cooked in the oven. And the typical focaccia of Bari is with olives and tomatoes. It's really delicious. And if we talk about pasta, you can find in Bari the type of pasta I told you before, orecchiette. and there are mainly two recipes typical from Bari. One is orecchiette alle cime di rapa, which is orecchiette pasta with a turnip. It's a little bit spicy and it's really delicious. And the other one is orecchiette con bracciola or bracciole. So bracciola is a singular, bracciole is plural. There's no difference. If it's bracciole, maybe they are small. Now I will explain what is bracciole. If it's just one, maybe it's big. So what is bracciole? Bracciole is a piece of meat cooked with a toothpick and is a rolled piece of meat. So this is why they use toothpick to keep it together. And inside you can find another ingredient, which can be garlic or ham or parsley. It's really delicious to eat it with the pasta, and you always eat with the tomato sauce. So if it's many of them, probably it's a small pieces of meat. If it's just one in the dish, maybe it's gonna be just a big piece of meat.
I gotcha.
So continuing on about the food, another important thing is the water, of course. So water in Italian we say acqua, but Italian people likes to drink sparkling water. You know, abroad, maybe sparkling water is almost like a different type of beverage, like Coke or something like that. But in Italy, it's just a normal water. So if you want to drink sparkling water, you should just ask for acqua frizzante. If you just want to drink normal water, you could just ask for acqua liscia. So if you want to ask, can I have some sparkling water, you could say, posso avere un po' d'acqua frizzante, which literally means, can I have some sparkling water?
So let me put some identifiers here. So these dishes on left, is this all over Italy or this specific to Bari?
This is specific from Bari. Of course, maybe you can find them maybe in some restaurants in other parts of Italy, but they are typical from Bari.
So let's try something that, as an American, I would say is very famous from wine. Is when I think wine, when I think Italy, I think wine. Can you tell me about how to order wine or other types of, I don't know, spirituous beverages in Italy?
Sure. So wine in Italian, we serve vino. And if you want red wine, you could say vino rosso. If you want white wine, you could say vino bianco. Then we have some other type of wine, which is rosato. And rosato is, there's a kind of pink color. So it's a little bit different than the red wine. It's different than red and different than white wine. Of course, if you want to order wine, you could just say, posso avere del vino. Or if you want to be more specific, del vino rosso or bianco, whatever. It depends on you. And if you travel in the south of Italy, you can also try many other local liquors. There are many of them. I just want to suggest maybe the most famous that you can find in maybe in all the parts of the world, even abroad. It's called limoncello. It's a liquor made with lemon, and it's very good to eat it after lunch or dinner. So after you finish your meal, so you can digest Well, now that I think, another important thing of Italy is coffee. In Italy, they eat a lot of coffee. We call coffee cafe. There are so many types of coffees. The most famous is espresso, of course, which you can order at the bar. And then the other famous ones like cappuccino, or the one that abroad they call latte. In Italy, we say caffè latte. Or latte macchiato. So if you go to the bar, you can order, we'll just put here, you can order one of this type of coffee. Finally, I think to talk more about food, we could say something about the typical dishes from Rome, because I think that...
Before we do that, since we have a great selection here, let's take advantage of that. And can you tell me how to make the request? So I would like, or can you give me, or something like that? Can you put that right? Let's see. Let's put that right here.
Okay, as I wrote here, with the wine and water, you should you could say posso avere, and after this you can just put the dish that you want to order. So for example, posso avere acqua frizzante. Even if you don't put the correct article, the female one or the male one, anyway, they will understand what you want to say. So even if it's not perfect, you can communicate. So for example, posso avere, correctly, you should say del limoncello. So in this case, can I have some limoncello? Or you can use another way. You could say, I would like some red wine. Vorrei un po' di vino rosso. So after vorrei, which is the important word, you can just put whatever dish you want. It's the same as posso avere. So you can also say vorrei orecchiette alle cime di rapa, or vorrei focaccia, un po' di focaccia. It's the same. The most important word is posso avere or vorrei. It doesn't matter to be grammatically correct because you're traveling. If you're not a student of Italian language, it's okay. So everyone will understand you anyway.
Okay, and if I want two things, is there a particle I can add, or some part of speech that I could add to request this and this? So for example,
sure,
I want focaccia and acqualiccia.
Sure. So you could just add this letter E. So you could say vorrei So I wrote it in the correct way, but I repeat, if you just say vorrei focaccia e acqua liscia, anyone is going to understand you. So e just means and in English.
Excellent, excellent. We've got a 10-minute warning that just went off. So we have 10 minutes. In that time, you're going into, let's clear this, and you're going to tell us about, I believe, Rome, or food in Rome. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. Okay. So many travelers, when they go to Italy, of course, they go to Rome. And Rome also has some very interesting and delicious pasta dishes, which are a little bit heavier maybe than the ones you can find in the south, because they use more fat of the pig. But anyway, they are delicious. So in Rome, they mainly, with these recipes, they mainly use these types of pasta. So bucatini, which is a kind of spaghetti that has a hole inside, from side to side. Tonarelli, which is a very thick spaghetti. And rigatoni, which is a short pasta. So usually in Rome, when they made the traditional dishes, they use this kind of pasta. So about the names of these main dishes, first one you can find is amatriciana, which is made with tomato sauce, with the pig meat, which can be the belly of the meat, and onion and some other stuff like that. It's really delicious. It's one of my favorite. Then we have cacio and pepe. Cacio is a type of cheese. And usually in Rome, they use a lot of cheese called pecorino romano, which is a cheese they make in Rome. And it's kind of salty, but very delicious. So in this dish with the cacio and pepe, they put a lot of pepper and a lot of cheese with the pasta. It's really, really delicious. It can be a little bit salty, but it's really delicious. Then we have another dish called the gricia. Gricia also is really fat. It's also full of pork meat, belly, and it's similar with matriciana, more or less. I'm not from Rome. Maybe the people from Rome now will be angry about my description, but I'm just trying to be brief. It's also, this one is really delicious, and it's without tomato sauce. Also full of pepper and cheese and pork. And finally, we have also another famous one called carbonara. In carbonara tradition, according to the tradition, you have to do guanciale, which is the cheek of the pig. You have to use eggs, pecorino romano cheese, pepper. And there is a nice historical and cultural part about this pasta. And I think it can be very interesting for you too, because you're American. Because apparently this dish was developed a lot during and after Second World War. Because as we know, during the Second World War, first the south of Italy and then Italy was freed from the Allied forces. So most of the Allied forces were American soldiers and English soldiers. So the Italian restaurant owners of that time, they decided to create a dish which could unite the Italian taste, so pasta, and the American and English taste. So eggs and bacon, something like bacon and stuff like that. So as we know, American people and English people enjoy eating bacon and eggs or sausages, especially for breakfast, especially as we know that traditional English breakfast. So they decided to unite these ingredients with the pasta, and they made this dish called carbonara, which is really famous now, and it's really delicious. Yeah, so these are the main famous dishes you can find in Rome, and I suggest you try all of them.
Excellent, excellent. Grazie.
Prego.
So, Pierre, we only have about 5 minutes left. In that time, I would be very disappointed if I didn't take a moment to ask you about your YouTube channel.
Ah, yes. So some time ago, I started a YouTube channel, which is called, I will write it now. It's called Treno per Busan. The name itself reminds the famous movie Train to Busan. So with this kind of name, I suggest my interest in first for Busan, and then for movies, because it's similar with the name of the movie. And further, also, I really like trains and planes. So you can find everything in this name. So in this YouTube channel, what I try to do is showing mostly Busan, but also other parts of Korea, Korean culture, Korean food, how some things work in Korea, something that for an Italian person can be particular to see. And sometimes I do something more deep, some longer videos related with Korean culture or related with the Korean cinema. So I try to explain some things and topics that I believe are interesting to know.
Excellent, excellent. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you leave this video, please make it a point to go to Channel Per Busan, hit subscribe for me.
Thank you.
How often, if I may ask, this is making YouTube channels is new to me. So can you tell me how often you update your channel?
I try to upload a video every week.
Got you. Got you. And so it's largely things in Busan. It's also in Italian, I'm guessing. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
All right. So ladies and gentlemen, this is a good opportunity to practice a little bit of your language skills. You can gain some language acquisition through watching Traino per Busan and learn about Korea at the same time. If I'm not mistaken, from time to time, you do a little bit of moonlighting as a language teacher. Do you teach Korean, Italian, or both?
Sometimes for a while I taught Korean for small, lower levels to Italian teenagers, but still I haven't had the chance to teach Italian to Korean people.
Okay, well, maybe as we get more viewers, we'll start to change that.
Yeah, I hope so.
I think I have more questions about that, actually. You speak several languages, if I'm not mistaken. You also have some Russian skills, is that correct? Or is that another language?
Yeah, I studied Russian in my bachelor degree, but now I don't remember anything because I couldn't practice a lot. So now I speak Italian, English, and Korean.
Excellent. So I look forward to doing this again with you sometime soon, Pierre. Originally,
Sure.
ladies and gentlemen, our idea was that we're going to do ordering food and using taxi. We might break that up in several parts and maybe have additional lessons in the future.
Sure, sure. When you want, you can just contact me.
Okay. I'm trying to find a way to end the recording. Sorry about that. It takes a second. Okay, there we go.